Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to the rest of us. If you're joining us from somewhere else in the world, that's awesome. And thank you for joining us in these interesting and challenging times. My name is Matt Farrell, and I serve as DCA at St. Cloud State University in Minnesota. I'm also treasurer on the executive board for a National Collegiate Choral Organization. It's my pleasure to moderate NCCO's third webinar, Remote Lessons and Gestures, Ideas for Teaching Conducting Students Virtually. The arc of our conversation is as follows. In case you'd like to time your questions to those points in our conversation, we'll start by going straight to the elephant in the room, this massive issue that we're all dealing with, and that is our world has just been turned upside down. And how, as teachers, might we move forward with our students pedagogically and philosophically? Then we'll dig into specific challenges and solutions for teaching gesture remotely. We'll talk about specific strategies and technologies and softwares that we might use. Third, we'll talk through additional conducting assignments, non-gesture specific that are appropriate for graduate and undergraduate students. And finally, we'll circle back to something related to topic one in a discussion about empathy. How can we best serve emotionally, maybe, right, our students, our community, our families, and ourselves through this. Now I'll have the panelists introduce themselves, and let's see, the institutions they serve, the conducting classes or lessons that they teach, both at the graduate and undergraduate level. And we'll also use this, Miguel, I don't know if we're ready to go, but we'll launch our first poll so we can gauge our colleagues and what you all are teaching currently right now. Karen, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Daly. I'm the Director of Choral Activities at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I teach this semester undergraduate choral conducting and graduate lessons in choral conducting.
Great, thank you. Nicole?
I'm Director of Choral Activities at the University of Wyoming. In the fall, I'll be moving to the University of California at Santa Barbara, hence my background. Currently at the University of Wyoming, I teach our undergraduate choral conducting class for music education majors and also graduate level conducting lessons.
Great. William.
Yes, I'm William Powell. I'm Director of Choral Activities at Auburn University, where I teach choral conducting to undergraduates as well as conducting to graduate students, mostly who attend during the summer months. And also, as well, I teach other choral-related courses as well as ensembles and janitorial services. I don't know, just all kinds of things.
Great, thank you, William. Jeffrey?
Hi, Jeff Dalma. I'm Professor of Conducting at the Yale School of Music. This semester I have private conducting lessons with graduate students. We also have our graduate seminar, which is mostly repertoire focused, but we've been dealing with gesture now the past week and in the weeks to come. And I also teach a class, conducting class for graduate students and undergraduates.
Great. And then I see on my list, Deanna all the way down there, but muted still. I'll go on for now. Hopefully we can get Deanna to join the conversation soon. Okay, moving forward. And I don't know if the polls are going up either. We'll try to come back to those polls if they're not. Our reality in teaching, now let's see. Oh, Deanna, she's almost here. She's still muted. Now you're live.
Hi, I'm Deanna Joseph. I'm the Director of Choral Activities at Georgia State University in Atlanta, Georgia. Good to be here.
So, what happened? Everything just happened, right? Our reality in teaching and in life has just kind of been blown up. And we, perhaps more than most of our colleagues in higher education, teach courses that are social. They're interactive, they're tactile, and they're physical, and yet now we're required to do this in a small little electric box. Now, I am optimistic moving forward that in the short term, we'll find ways to deliver our content effectively. However, this will require the use of technology, technology that was not available, I think, when any of us were graduate students, let alone undergraduate students. And so there's a bit of a learning curve to this. And so that brings me to my next poll, which, if it goes live, it talks about how proficient we all feel in terms of our use of technology. And I hope as we go on to our panelists that they talk about that too in this next section. What is your level of proficiency in conducting? But William, let's go to you first. I'll close my mouth, and would you start us off with a fairly broad topic? What were you doing with your conducting students before COVID, BC, right? And what are you doing now? How have things changed? What are you doing differently pedagogically, philosophically?
Okay, well, first of all, as I mentioned in my introduction, that I teach we have graduate students who primarily take during the summer, and that tends to be, I've been doing distance education since I think about 2002, 2003, and have seen it grow. I have grown with it over those years, and I by no means am I, at the level of a Nicole or anything like that, but I know my way around some applications. So to the question, and also I need to do a disclaimer. We have a graduate teaching assistant whom I have allowed to teach our conducting students, undergraduate conducting this semester as well as last semester, and I'm still an instructor of record, so I'm still actively involved in the course, but she is the head honcho. And so what we have been doing, what I have done, has been one that has been a combination of the live classroom teaching, followed up with some video lessons. I would typically have students to send weekly, at least weekly, video assignments where they would record themselves. I would give them instructions, and this is important. Here's a takeaway here. Tell them how you want the camera situated. Make sure that they know that the camera does not need to be on the table and it looking up to them, because that's a whole different perspective, but it needs to be, at eye level. I tell them to put it on a music stand, be at least X number of feet away from the camera. I want to be able to see the whole body. I want to see the full reach, not just this much, but I also prepare, what do you call it, a video demonstration. So though that combined with the live classroom teaching, and I don't want to go on, but that's, I think I'll stop there.
Jeff, you're dealing with recitals, right? Graduate students that were giving recitals, teaching, conducting to graduate students online. Can you talk about, just everything was sort of messed up.
Sure. Yeah, as a practical matter, in terms of the recitals, we have one student whose degree recital was unfortunately canceled. And what we're doing in her case is allowing her to use earlier conducting footage from last summer and the fall. And she also presented just last week in our seminar on her recital rep, and we asked her about conducting issues, and we recorded that presentation, which was on Zoom. And basically together, those elements will count as a degree recital. The other thing I would say, just as we're starting this conversation, is that I'm hoping to try to take this as an opportunity to get back to basics and focus on how we internalize a piece of music. A good portion of my private lessons have always been spent talking about analysis, style, interpretation, pedagogical challenges, and we've found some ways to explore gesture in our online lessons already in spite of the time lag. But I'm planning to place even greater emphasis on all of these other things which form the basis of our gestural decisions. When I teach my class, we actually don't conduct at all for the first several weeks. Instead, we talk about how to analyze a piece, how to get the sound of a piece in our ear, culminating in a written score study project. And only after we do that do we start to work on gesture. And the idea is that students begin to appreciate that their first responsibility is to really know a piece before they even think about what it would be like to get in front of people and start conducting. So I'll talk a little bit more later about a couple of the specific things we've done in our private lessons. But for the most part, I'm trying to view this as a chance to really get back to basics.
Sure. Karen, how are you doing through this?
Great. So I think about this from the undergraduate perspective and also the graduate. And I think graduate students are maybe a little bit more used to the one-on-one interaction that they typically have with us. And I found that sort of transition to be easier than with the undergraduates who are very much used to a class format. They miss the live encounter. That's what they're telling me, that they enjoy watching one another conduct, responding to one another's conducting. So for me, the question is how can I continue to spark their imaginations in this way? And perhaps it is, to put a positive spin on it, a chance for us to invite them more deeply into the craft of conducting in terms of the individual work that we do, to your point, Jeff, and thinking much more strongly about score study and what language can we use to help them to think about gesture when we cannot necessarily demonstrate it, or we can't have the tactile aspect. So that's my positive spin, but I'm thinking more about how to help undergraduates teach themselves as conductors, and I hope that will have a real transfer to their future preparation as a conductor.
Deanna, thoughts?
Yes, just echoing what everybody has already said, and I am, alongside my graduate students, we're trying to be creative, and my colleague in the choral area, we're trying to be creative with how to replace recitals and class and rehearsals and everything that everyone's already said. We've come to a place where we're going to be meeting every week as a conducting studio and talking through first and foremost the piece they were going to conduct this semester in recital, Bernstein's Chichester Psalms, doing a lot of score study on that, listening to recordings, talking about recordings. I've also been, one way I've been trying to deal with gesture and the specific challenges with that on video is to talk with students about specific spots that are, maybe they have questions or problem spots with conducting, and then having the student speak or sing and conduct themselves through that particular spot. I find that that's a way to work around the technology, that where we can get to gesture or just how to do this, or does this look okay? Will this get the job done? Do you have any advice for me? That kind of an exchange. And I've been able to do that in a group setting and also in a one-on-one private video lesson with a great deal of success. So, yeah.
Great. And Nicole, thoughts on moving forward? Oh, you're still muted.
Oh, here we go. So I would just like to echo what Deanna just said. I think the biggest problem is finding a way to connect the oral experience to the kinesthetic experience. And we can't create the oral experience that is true and real in this situation. And so then the responsibility falls on a student to create the sound that is then matched to the gesture. So I would like to echo what Deanna said. It's a really great way for the students to connect those dots in a way that we can't provide for them.